Hi, my name is Hananya.
Hello there, my name is Shameem.
And my name is Leslie. We're three international friends on a mission to write and publish our first novels. We are the Three Writing Amigas. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Orange.
Why did you guys not send the memo that we were wearing orange?
I know, exactly.
But to be fair, I'm
yes.
probably the only Dutch person that doesn't own anything orange.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, that's the color of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't own orange.
So, look at my earrings are all cooked. Oh my God, I'm a mess.
It's okay.
So we all finished the draft of our books.
Yeah.
That's the real key. So that's
I
cool.
know.
Very, very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
There's a lot of interesting things going on. Did you feel like, even though, we have to edit, but did you kind of feel like, like I feel like I kind of had a little baby.
Yeah, you feel like a big release once you hit like the end.
Yeah, because then you have something to work with, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because even though you and I had written, Hananya, you and I had written a few drafts, but it wasn't, I know I'm feeling this way, and you tell me if you feel differently. I feel like I finally have the draft that's going to be the book.
Right.
Right. Before it was like, I knew it was wrong. Well, also I didn't have the whole complete draft until right before I started the workshop, but I feel like now, and I say that before, we get into hopefully agents and all that, and they go, we want to change everything. We just, only thing we like is the title, That's
yeah.
But I knew, I sort of felt, and a little, not sad, but I don't know, weird somehow.
I get that. I finished my first full draft in, I'm gonna say early 2020, so just before everything happened.
Yep.
And I was working on that book, I would say, honestly, not even that long.
Okay.
Probably 6 months, and I know that sounds like 6 months is a good period, but it's not that long if you consider everything.
I think that's fast.
So do I. I think that's really fast.
Yeah, and that's a first draft, right?
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't going to be perfect. But after I reached the end, that was a really big moment for me personally, just because I'd never really reached the end on anything. I've written a lot, and I've written tons of stories and tons of things, but I've always kind of stopped kind of towards the end or in the middle or something like that. I have a lot of books that are sitting at the 50K mark, 30K mark.
Interesting.
In words. But I don't usually think about how my book is going to end when I'm starting to write it. So I'm just I don't know where the end is, so I'm just going to leave it here, and I'm just going to come back to it at some point. And that's kind of how I've written from high school onward until this book. And I was so determined to just keep going. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, Shameem, because Hananya and I did come to the workshop with a draft, no matter how much we changed it, but we came with a full draft, right? I'm curious because you didn't, right? You came
with 3 chapters.
Okay. So how did it, because for me, I'm just wondering, with someone who hasn't really drafted it out, how did it help you to?
Well, we were all on the same writing course, so I liked learning about the structure of what to do, but I didn't follow the structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a a grade A student, so I did everything diligently. I did all the exercises, but I was fixated on finishing the exercises and getting good marks. That's all I cared about really during the course, which was a miss really on my side. I should have taken a lot more from it. we built Trello, which I rarely look at because I still pull from my brain instead of looking at the plot and the structure. And then even this morning I pulled up Trello because I was editing, going through, making sure everything was in, and I was like, everything's in the wrong order. And
you changed it that much.
You can change
that. You can change.
But yeah, I'm staying flexible. So yeah, I turned up with 3. Well, I didn't finish my draft until only about 2 months ago, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, 8 weeks ago. And when I got to the end, I didn't even realize I got to the end. And then I realized, shit, that's it.
It's done.
It's done. How did you feel when you really finished? Like you had, knowing that you have to edit, but it was born.
I was excited for a couple of hours, and then it went. Then the excitement went. Only because I started looking into what's next, and then I realized what's next is potentially harder than what I've done. And then I was just like, oh God.
So here's advice. If you finish your first draft, celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Celebrate and let it rest.
Yes.
Don't think about what comes next. Just celebrate.
Yeah.
And let it rest.
Too nosy. Yes. I'm too nosy. I'm just
print it out, drill holes in it, and celebrate.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Because you did it. You have something to edit. That's the big deal.
You wrote a full book. No matter how good, bad, whatever, you wrote a full book, and that is something to celebrate.
That is.
Yeah, I think I don't know what in me is like, where I want to celebrate is not this bit.
No, you should celebrate all along the way, babe.
I know. Yeah, I agree with you, but I just that's not my that's not my mentality.
It's not your go-to.
Celebrate along the way.
Yes, it's the
celebrate
journey,
all the milestones,
not the destination. Although we do want to get to the destination. So did anybody let it rest, which is the conventional wisdom, like after you finish your draft? You did.
I did.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. How about you? Did you let it rest?
Well, yeah, I did, because I had written it before the workshop. So I had, once I got to the end, I had stopped, and then where I was, for me, it was like, okay, now it's in the right POV. I had the hard time, like you were saying, Shameem, Hananya, getting to like, what is the end? What is the final battle? Or, what is that? And I had written through the final battle, but I hadn't really resolved the baby, not epilogue, but the very end where you tie up and you kind of get to how you want people to walk away from the book. I had sketches there, but I had written a first draft. And then I was like, okay, well, I know I have to edit it. I mean, obviously you don't just write it once and it's a done deal.
I wish.
God.
I wish that was the case.
What the heck do I do now? And that's why I took the workshop, because I felt like I have it, but I know it's half baked, right? And I didn't have confidence in a lot of the things that I learned later that I had done actually okay. And so that's why I took the workshop, because I was like, I don't know how to attack thinking about editing it. Like, how do you begin? What makes sense to do? So yeah, I had, I took a break, not to be like, oh, yes, and then I'm just going to go back in and edit. I was like, I took a break going, I don't know what to do now. I'm totally freaked out. Please, somebody come help me. And then found the workshop, which really didn't help me editing at that initial point. What it helped me to do was to really dive more deeply into my important characters, so that I understood them more. And so I was able to dig in and make all kinds of notes in my manuscript about things and how to change scenes and stuff like that. So that was important. So I guess that was my step one, which I didn't really kind of realize, because I didn't infuse my characters necessarily with that kind of depth when I was writing it the first time.
See, and everything that you two are saying is bothering me.
Why?
Because like you two rocked up with your drafts, and I feel like, Leah, you've done those extra layers. You've dug into it. You were revising. I didn't know what revising was, by the way, the other day, until you told me, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm still like 20 paces behind kind of thing in terms of
I don't
the
know
effort
about that.
and the thinking involved. Because like, no, it's just like you said, first draft, it's just the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's
It's
true.
a very,
But the
it's a
difference is, and this is what's going to be interesting when you really start editing, and I'm curious for you to comment on this later when you really get into it, because of like what I was just saying, that I didn't infuse all of like this, or at least not consciously, the motivations, the fears, that, you know, all that stuff that they had us do. I wasn't thinking about that. And you know, and I've said this a million times and I'm not going to go into it, but even understanding that my book was really about this mother and daughter when I thought it was something else. All of that came through really getting into the motivations, desires, wants, fears, of the characters, which I hadn't done in depth. But you got to do that as you were writing your first draft.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're 20 paces behind us. I think you've come at it from a different
angle.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you're not wrong. But I think what I'm active. So my biggest problem when I was drafting was that I was editing at the same time.
Right.
And I would, you know, fixate and go over and over and over and stuff. And then I do an exercise and I go back and then I'd be checking and then I'd be like, nah, these, you know, and I think even now that I'm actually in the editing phase, which is the piece I always told myself I love, which I don't love anymore because now I have to do it. I'm still overthinking everything. So I'm still, you know, I'm considering I've been editing now for a month. I am still only at the beginning of chapter 3 because I am just doing it too much, if that makes sense. I'm not doing it I'm not doing the editing process properly.
Well, I don't know if there's a properly. It's just like, you know, drafting.
Everything I've read, I've read says, you know, you sit down, get some snacks, get some drinks, block out some time and read it end to end. I can't even get past one page without wanting to do something with it.
Are you reading on paper or are you reading on your computer?
On my computer, which is why I think I need to do it on paper.
I swear to you, you need to print it out, get your red pen, right? And what I like to do is first try to read it just as a reader, if you can, because I fall in love with things all the time. So the first time I'm like in love with it. So read it through just as a reader and say, I'm going to go back and make marks, but just read it. Then you've got it. Then when you read it another time, see, you're not as emotional because you've read it already. And then you take your red pen and I circle things. I find, you know, whether it's grammar or, and I do, you know, it looks like a football diagram. I mean, I write all this stuff in there. And then I go back with that, sit that down, and I just do then I just do the edits, right? And then you're going to have a level up of your book. But you got to read it yourself first, just as a reader, even though you're going to, and believe me, when you hit on something and go, oh, that's not right, you're going to remember that because you know what? You're going to have the same feeling when you read it again. It's not like trying to remember something because it's a document, right? So you don't have to, but by doing that, the second time you read it, because you're going to read it right after, like read it and then don't let it sit again, just read it again. You won't be as emotional about it. So you can really see, oh, that's not working. I love that scene, but I got to do this instead. And you'll start to see the connections.
I just wrote it down. I'm going to look online and print it.
Yeah. And you have to do that before you really want to go to beta readers because yours is really a first draft.
Yes.
You know, and you don't want people reading it now when you know there's all this stuff you got to fix.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm massively in avoidance anyway for that phase. I'm sticking in this one for a while. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I just did beta. I don't know where you are, Hananya, but I just did I did 5 beta readers, and I'll tell you about them in a second if you want to hear. And now I'm in my second phase of beta readers.
Okay.
So the first one I did a combination of people I know, but who are either like writers. One woman had worked in publishing. One was a TV writer. And then I did hire 2 beta readers from Fiverr.
Okay.
And I hired specifically for me, I hired 2 people that were younger because I wanted a younger perspective. And both of them also do sensitivity reading, but they're from different ethnic groups. Because I thought that was important, because also, you know, climates change of how you talk about certain things. And it was pretty interesting, you know, and then I put it all in a, you know, so you guys will
Oh,
love
wow.
me, in a spreadsheet.
I love
Yeah.
that.
With, you know, and then it's like, who was the reader? What I thought about their note. How many people of the group agreed to the note, whether or not I would change it. Yes, no, maybe. And basically in the end, it came with, I think, 5 things that I really had to change. But it's
Okay.
always fascinating to, and scary, but fascinating to have people give you their thoughts on what you put out there. Right? Shameem was one of my beta readers. I won't read you her note. She was really mean.
No, I wasn't.
No, not at all. You were probably too kind. I don't know.
Well, I just made sure that I read it in a short chunk of time, so that,
right,
you know, yesterday's reading was fresh, was still,
yeah.
so I could carry the story on without having, you know, too much of a break. It's almost like you have to start again, especially when you're mentally like making notes and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and I really appreciate it, by the way. You know, but it was really illuminating. And some of the things that I fought against, actually, several people said this same, you know, pointing to the same kind of thing. So I had to do it. So then it becomes, how do you interpret the note? And how do you get to the essence of the note or the spirit of the note? Because I still didn't like what the readers were telling me to do. So
was I one of them?
Let me see. Let me check. Shameem.
Only because I'm just like, what did I say?
You said,
this is horrible.
You told me where a thread was lost. So yes, I'm doing that note. Let's see. And this is one of the things that people said. There was in chapter 7, Letty's more focused on working for the family. I'll leave some things out than telling her best friend what was going on. And that was really good, because you were totally right. I lost that. But part of it is there was some editing done, you know, through the workshop, right? I pulled up, because one of the big notes they had for me, and that I really could see once I had some distance from the story, the top of the book was slow. So I pulled up, I mean, chapter 10 ended up being chapter 3. I mean, you don't just go here like that, but how you pull things out and rejigger. So I think in the course of that, some of those threads had gotten lost, and you definitely caught that. That was great. You told me that the end of chapter 14 and the top of chapter 15 did not connect, and boy, did they not connect. This was the note that, well, there were 2 notes. One of them was this, that you got on. You were one of the first ones that didn't work. I had, in the mystery of the identity part with family members, there's a moment where that someone brings a newspaper clipping.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I didn't spell it out. I thought in my mind, when I wrote it, I thought bringing that and then having a confrontation, which is the beginning of the real confrontations, and starting care and consequences for Letty because she confronts people, that I made it clear. But it was clearly not clear, because everyone was like, what? So you have to listen to that, right? So in that instance, I kind of took the note really for what the note was, which is what the hell was in that newspaper clipping that made her realize these connections.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. But then the second one that a lot of people had said, you know, and during the workshop and then beta readers, was whether or not Letty would have more interaction with this wealthy family, right? And they wanted a specific thing of her being at that house more. And I just fought against that. I just didn't feel that was right. But what it forced me to do is, I had to listen to the fact that they're saying you got to weave this, if this family is going to be a big part of this whole reveal and the climax, you can't have them at the top of the book and then they don't come back really in any real way until the end. You've got to figure out how to have a couple of run-ins, interactions with your main character and this family. So that was, to me, the essence of the note. So I figured out a way to have her have 2 more interactions that are quite different than what the sort of specific note was, but they go to the essence of the note. And I think in a way, it turned out, I think, even better because it's kind of more chilling. And I'm not going to tell you what I did, but the point is sometimes you have to listen to notes and say, and it's not just that you don't agree with them, but say, how does it make sense in your story? Because what people are telling you is simply like, this is missing for me. I think you need it. And they're going to give you how they think, but it doesn't mean you have to do the way they think, but you need to listen to the spirit, the essence of the note, and get to that in your story. And so that was really an eye-opener for me. So anyway, that's where I am right now. So I'm waiting for them, working on my query letter, just got notes back on that. And then you have to write a synopsis, which that to me is going to be really hard.
Well, to me, that should be your superpower. Oh. Because I've already decided that you're writing my synopsis.
Yeah, so. I know. Shameem, she WhatsApps me. You'll be writing my synopsis.
Honestly, because it's really strange, isn't it? Because I would think you would feel yourself that you would excel at writing a synopsis for your story.
It's easier to write for me to write for someone else. So when I write our descriptions, I'm still writing for us. I'm not writing for me. You know what I mean? Like I used to do my friends' resumes. Like if it's for someone else, I come up with all these, pithy, snappy, whatever. When it's me, oh my God. I can barely form a sentence.
You should share yours with us then and see if we can, between us, do some like wordsmithing and
that would be awesome. Yeah, if you guys don't mind when I get to that place. Yeah. So that's me. So where are you guys in your edit? I've been blah, blah, blah. So
you go, Hananya, because I feel like I've already explained mine because I am right at the beginning. So.
Fair enough. I mean, I have had beta readers in the past. I basically, when I finished my first draft in 2020, I went through it myself. I did a full editing pass of all of the big story things. I wrote extra chapters, like all of the stuff. And then I sent it out to people. So I have different people that I sent it out to. I had some friends that have read it. But also people that I didn't know that read it.
How did you find them? Oh, sorry.
No, I just want to just remind me, because I know you're a big writer, as in like you can write words on paper. How many words is in this book?
Before I started editing now, it was 100,000 words.
Yeah.
Just a little shy of 100,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically 99,000 something. So almost 100,000.
Because that's relative in terms of the time it takes as well to read it, and not just read it, but read it and process it to write notes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I had sent it out to basically one friend at the time who read it and gave me her like general thoughts. And then I had sent it out to 2 people I had met on Instagram and Facebook groups and stuff, who are both authors, and they are both doing very well at the moment. I don't speak to them as much, just because we're on different paths, right? Like they are published, they have multiple books out.
Oh, wow.
And I am not. So we're basically on very different paths, but I beta read their books. And then I asked them if they would beta read mine.
Okay.
And I didn't really get any response. I
Really?
I basically nagged them a couple times, and one of them came back and gave me general thoughts.
Now, were they already published authors when you beta read for them?
No, that was the first book that
It
I
was
beta
their
read.
first book.
Mhm. Yeah.
I feel like they should have reciprocated.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. And life gets busy. I get that. Things happen. So yeah, one of them came back and said, I am so sorry, I really didn't have time. But from what I did read, like I didn't read everything, but from what I did read, this and this and this. And then one of them basically said, hey, I didn't get through all of it just because I'm really busy. And I was like, is it because you're really busy or because you didn't like it? Because like you can tell me, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you can't get through it because you're like, it's just not flowing for me. And that's completely fine. Like,
that's
just tell me.
legitimate and helpful.
Yeah. So they basically said, no, it's just literally time. I really was enjoying it. And these were like the comments and stuff. So that was to them. And then I also sent it out to a couple people where we did like kind of chapter swaps. So they would read my chapters, I would read their chapters. And that was 2 or 3 people, I would say. Let me think. So I had one that we swapped like 3 chapters. And then they never got back to me. Then one that I swapped like multiple chapters, like continued and continued and continued throughout most of the book. But they were leaving very negative comments only. So not a lot of positive comments, which I was like, do you like anything about my book?
Yeah.
So I ended up asking them and they were like, no, I do. I'm just pointing out the things I think you could change. And I was like, okay, but give me some positive feedback too, please.
Yes.
So I basically stopped that collaboration. And then I also met my critique partner that way, where we swapped pages. And she became my critique partner. So I meet with her every week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. We just kind of chat about life these days, just because, things happen and we don't always work on things. But we're basically trying to do every Friday we meet kind of, early in the day. So we do it before work. And we're trying to do kind of writing sprints as we meet. So we update each other on like what's been going on. And then we try to work on our book. We had kind of lost that a little bit, but we're trying to really focus that time on book stuff instead of doing admin tasks or like other things. We're like, okay, we're gonna roll back to what we started this for and just work on book stuff. So that is how I met her as well. And then I think that must have been it for like that first round. But I feel like I still have all those comments. So I added them to my document. And I feel like, I don't know. I still don't know exactly how I'm going to fix it, but I basically have let it rest from that moment on, which was end of 2020. No, I would say actually end of 2021 is when I kind of had all of that feedback. And I was like, I don't know what to do with it. Right. So then I joined the workshop early 2022. Is that correct? Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
So I did an edit, focused solely on the exercises. And then I completely abandoned everything in October of last year.
Right.
That's when I completely abandoned everything. I was like, I'm unhappy. I'm not loving this book.
Yeah.
I'm just going to work on something else. And that's what I did in November. I wrote 50K in a different project. Then as we were doing the podcast, obviously was getting back into kind of that book, the original. And I basically did a full read through in April.
Okay. What was your feeling when you did a full read after having let it sit for a while? How did you feel about it once you did that?
Very distanced. So definitely not emotionally attached. Which in a way is a good thing. When I did like my first read through, before I sent it off to beta readers, because I did do a full read through and I made comments and everything. I originally had printed it out and got the red pen, and I was like, I don't like this. Just because I felt like I had some notes and I couldn't necessarily fit that in the margins of a book because I'd formatted it as a book. Right. So I was like, so I ended up getting my iPad and took notes digitally. So I have written notes on there digitally with a different color pen. I did a blue pen color. And that's kind of how I did my notes on the side. I would say like, what was I even thinking with this part? Or I would be like, hey, we might want to add like a little bit more here, or like this could go, or like circling like spelling errors, because once I spot it, I have to circle it. Like I can't just leave it.
No, I circle too.
I can't just leave it. I just so that's kind of what I did. And then I did the full kind of edit based on those notes. So I had my iPad next to me when I was editing. But yeah, now with the read through, I did it on my laptop. Which was fine because I was far enough removed from everything. Yeah. And I went through it and I was like, okay, certain things don't make sense anymore with like the new kind of way I was thinking about the story, with like everything that we went through in the workshops and stuff. So there was a lot of things where I was like, okay, well, I can probably cut this. I can probably cut that. So I started marking things that I thought I could delete. And just like leaving myself some notes on like, okay, this is room where you can add like world building, or like add some more description here, because description is not my strong suit. So then I'm like, okay, I could add description here, because I was looking for ways, how can I add description without disrupting the story too much? Because I hate for it to take the reader out of the story. So I was like trying to look for logical places of like, okay, well, I'm already like kind of walking here, then maybe I can describe what they're walking towards or through or like whatever. Then that would make sense to put some description there. Not like pages, but like, you know, a little bit in there. So that was kind of places I was also looking for. So I was like, you know, description, opportunity. And I would just leave myself notes like that. And also kind of like, hey, did they have this in this time period? Would this make sense? Would this be called this? Or would I need notes like that as well? Because we all know I was struggling doing the research, but this makes more sense. So I did all of that in the full read through, and I did that in April. And then in May, I basically didn't do anything. But now I've gone back and I've started editing. Deleted so much already. I feel like I've deleted 6,000 words easily.
Okay.
And I'm only 5 chapters in.
Wow.
So yeah. But I'm also writing a lot like of new scenes and new like things, because I'm deleting a lot of like, I've literally deleted chapter 2 is just gone. That's deleted. I've deleted multiple scenes, but I'm also going to have to add new scenes that are going to go in its place. So,
but that's editing, right? And that's what distance can give you.
I am writing a lot as well, which is kind of fun, but also, I'm like starting to get into a flow though. So that's good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All your writing is for this particular story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So both of you are actually editing now.
Yes.
And your next step after that is to do whatever beta readers. And so okay,
which I have a couple lined up, so it's fine.
We do. Now, are they?
Because I know that probably you guys will probably read it if I ask.
Well, definitely.
And my critique partners will read it.
Yeah.
So
will that be your first round? Do you think?
Probably.
So, Have you thought about it?
They'll be all
Shameem?
authors.
All authors.
Yeah.
Okay. And Shameem, have you thought about it beyond us?
Nope.
Okay.
I can share, by the way, the place that I found my beta readers. It's basically a forum kind of ish thing. It's like a Google form ish.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it's called, but basically you can post on there saying, hey, I'm looking for beta readers, critique partners, whatever. I think it's more or less a critique partner thing, but you can also post, hey, I'm looking for beta readers. And then most of the time it's like, I read for you, you read for me. That's kind of the agreement. And then you just post on there like, this is my story, this is how many words it is, this is like the genre it's in, this is the kind of person I'm looking for. If it's like a long-term relationships that you want to build, like for a critique partner, that's usually long-term. You don't want to stop at one book and be like, I'm done. But you can specify that if you're just looking for some beta readers, you can ask that. And then people will probably respond on that.
And remember, because we've talked about this in the past too, but it's worth mentioning here, it's critique, not criticism.
Exactly.
and that's what we all want. And that's not to say that you aren't honest. You should be honest when something isn't working for you or, whatever. But also a little bit of the positive is always appreciated.
Yes.
You don't want it to make it all positive because that's not helpful.
No,
after a
but
certain
you want
point.
to point out the things that you do enjoy, unless
Yes.
there's really nothing that you enjoy, but then maybe you
Right.
should just tell them that you're not going to continue reading.
Exactly. Exactly.
But if you are enjoying certain parts, or if there's like a witty comment that character makes and you're like, oh, I like this, comment that. Just let the author know that there is parts that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
So that they don't feel down when they read your comments.
Yeah, because we're all humans and it's scary for all of us,
Yes.
So a little encouragement. And then also when it is something that is not, negative sounds really bad, but negative or you feel needs change.
Yeah.
Be constructive about it.
Exactly.
Say, so, think
I want to
about.
find something that I wrote down at some point. But I don't know if I could. Basically it says cribs, right? So it says confusing. So if anyone finds parts confusing, that means you're going to want to rewrite that section.
Yeah.
If anything is repeated, so if you repeat certain things too much, then delete that.
Yep.
Then it said insightful.
Mm-hmm.
That means maybe double down on that because that, that could be a good thing.
Right.
And then it says boring, delete.
Yep.
And then it says surprising, built up to it and create suspense.
Great. Oh, that's a great acronym. Cribs.
Cribs.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good.
Yeah.
I wrote that down in my notebook.
That's awesome. I'm going to, when I go back to
and I
edit
love
this,
that I
I'm
was
gonna
able to
write down.
find this so fast. I really didn't think I was going to.
You're very organized. You make me look bad.
Say that.
I fake it very well. I'm very good at faking
I
it.
don't know. Well, it's working.
Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. We all need feedback and, constructive
and it's hard
criticism.
though.
It's hard.
Like that first time, it's going to feel like your heart is ripped out.
That's right.
That's literally I cried first time.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I don't cry. I get mad and I like cuss you out. Shameem would love to. I'll record myself for you one day because you would love to hear it. I'm like,
I was upset the first time.
I would do both. I would cry and get angry and be swearing a lot. So,
and then I calm down. Yeah. And then I read them again, and then I start to absorb it. So,
don't reply to these comments straight away when you read them. Yeah. Read them, walk away.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then come back and reply if you want to reply.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it on the spot because you're going to be really emotional.
Really emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. Hananya already has her iced coffee.
It's not iced coffee.
Oh, it's not.
It's water.
Oh, it's water. Well,
I'm going to get water though.
I'm going to get iced coffee. You guys joining?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to follow Hananya at Hananya LeClaire on Instagram and YouTube. Follow Shameem on Instagram at rnpinkhamauthor. And Leslie on Instagram at ld.feral.writer. Or catch all of us on YouTube at 3 Writing Amigas. Until our next hangout, keep on writing.